I just know that it doesn't work internationally. It's not adding up.
Well, I would suggest you maybe doing your homework a little bit more when you come up here and you start talking about this stuff, that you actually understand what it is, the impact that you're talking about.
I do my homework. I do understand the impact. I do know I'm wasting my time recycling because most of it's not recycled. And that's because of the industry. And the fact that plastic is in everything is because the industry forced us to have it.
Then quit using plastics.
Well, the industry should stop making them.
Quit using them. If you feel that way, then
I do. I just told you I do not have single-use plastic bottles in my house. I do what I can.
Hold on a second. You're against all plastic, but you have plastic all around you. So if you're against plastic, then don't use it. Live by what you're saying. There's a lot of people around here that I disagree with, but if you'd live it,
I do live it.
I respect it. Ma'am, you don't, because you have plastic on your face, you have plastic on the water bottle, you have plastic on your
I
feet,
do not own companies to create these things.
Ms. Bradford, in your testimony, did I understand you right? Said that you want to end all plastic manufacturing?
I said the plastics industry must be stopped.
So does that mean end plastic manufacturing?
I mean, in my dream world, sure. But I think that, go ahead.
No, so I don't mean to be condescending here. I just point out, what's going to replace your glasses?
So
I
do
wear your
know.
glasses around your face? They're made of plastic.
Maybe.
No,
I don't know what they're made out of.
They are. What about, and I just point out some things here, because I just want to be realistic when we're having conversations, because when statements are made like this, I just want to open people's eyes and say, well, okay, that's easy to say, but what's the solution? Your water bottle in front of you.
This one?
Yes. That plastic?
No.
The lid is. That's plastic.
Right. So
Right.
I would say to your question that I would first be concerned about single-use plastics, and then we can talk about alternatives to this.
Your cell phone there. Is it plastic?
The cases. But it's glass because I broke
the components
this
inside of
screen
it's not
yesterday.
plastic? The components made out of it's not in plastic? Yeah, they are. The water that you filled that water bottle up with, where'd you fill that water bottle up out of?
A water filling station.
All right, and it was delivered by a drink station that was plastic?
I didn't check.
The edges are. The piping coming to it. Now, you have a couple of choices with the piping. We could go back to using wood, but then you have to line it in chemical. Or we could go back and use lead, because we used to have water piping that was lead. That was harmful to us. We go back to galvanized, but galvanized rust and had discoloration. We go back to copper, but copper has to be mined, and everybody wants to stop mining in the U.S. So you use plastic to deliver piping that you fill that water bottle up with today. I point this out because the clothes you have on, I guarantee you have plastic in it. The shoes you have on your feet, the soles of those shoes are plastic. So we talk about any plastic manufacturing, and everybody in here cheers when you say that, but everybody here is depending on plastic as you set. So if you want to end it, then quit using it. It's kind of like, I don't shop at certain places right now because I don't agree with some of their policies. I choose not to do that. You can choose to not use plastic. Do your work. If you believe it, then live it that way. And if not, then tell me what the solution is. Yeah, I just want to follow up with Ms. Bradford. You stated you're against single-use plastics. What specifically are you pointing at for single use? What products are you talking about?
Thanks. So definitely straws, definitely plastic bottles. I won't say anything else because I can't think of anything else right now.
So are you for recycling and advanced recycling?
No, because it doesn't work and it doesn't happen.
Well, then in your case, and everything's single use at that point. If you're not for recycling, then you can't say you're against single use and you're okay with everything else. Because if you're against
I'm for facts, and I think only 9% worldwide are actually recycled.
That's why I say that we should focus more on recycling. Because if you can tell me you're for recycling, then maybe we can work to something. Because a while ago you did say you wasn't against all of it because you got to be realistic, but you're against single use because that's what the chairman asked you. And so if you're for against single use, then you must be for recycling.
No, because it doesn't work.
Well, then that doesn't make any sense at all.
Okay.
Because you can't exist without plastic today. We've already pointed that out. And so I don't know what the alternative is. And we talk about this all the time. It's like Ms. Levin mentioned that that glass is an alternative. But if you remember, sir, at our last hearing we had on plastic, for the record, I submitted the McKinsey and Company study that showed that actually plastic has a less carbon footprint than glass. So where are we moving towards? What is it that we want to look to? If we're still for the middle class, and we got to have manufacturing, we pointed that out, that we can't do without it. We're against it, but yet everybody here is using it. I just see a lot of people having a thought process because it sounds good, but no one's actually living by what you believe.
I don't have any single-use plastics in my house.
You know that for a fact?
I know that for a fact because
What products do you not have? What products? Because you just mentioned water bottles.
I don't have water bottles like that in my house.
But most of these water bottles are actually recycled, including the one that I'm having.
So I am a masochist and I do participate in recycling. I just know that it doesn't work internationally. It's not adding up.
Well, I would suggest you maybe doing your homework a little bit more when you come up here and you start talking about this stuff, that you actually understand what it is, the impact that you're talking about.
I do my homework. I do understand the impact. I do know I'm wasting my time recycling because most of it's not recycled. And that's because of the industry. And the fact that plastic is in everything is because the industry forced us to have it.
Then quit using plastics.
Well, the industry should stop making them.
Quit using them. If you feel that way, then quit.
I do. I just told you I do not have single-use plastic bottles in my house. I do what I can.
Hold on a second. You're against all plastic, but you have plastic all around you. So if you're against plastic, then don't use it. Live by what you're saying. There's a lot of people around here that I disagree with, but if you'd live it,
I do live it.
I respect it. Ma'am, you don't, because you have plastic on your face, you have plastic on the water bottle, you have plastic on your
I
feet,
do not own companies to create these things. So I cannot make these things. But until they are available, we're stuck with some things. I do what I can.
Do you believe in? Do you believe that we should have solar systems, or not solar systems, but we should have solar panels on our house?
I do, but I'm here to talk about
so solar panels.
What's on the agenda.
I mean, they are.
And they're also not single use.
Neither is just bottle. Let's go to Mr. Sunday. In your opening statement, you mentioned shale gas was a big reason why United States have led the world in CO2 reduction, because the energy and natural gas liquids in your manufacturing is less emission intense than overseas manufacturing, especially compared to countries like China. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, as I mentioned, Clean Air Task Force looked at the methane intensities, and shale gas in Appalachia has the lowest leakage of any basin in the world. Mm-hmm. And the increased use of natural gas produced in that region, including Pennsylvania, has been estimated to be about 60% of the reason why we led the world in reducing emissions as a country since 2005. So big picture, the issue is how do you reduce emissions, keep costs down, and be reliable? That's the long-term challenge. The short-term challenge is every country out there that's relying on Russian oil and gas, we should be doing everything we can to get our energy over there, because it's also going to be used more sustainably. Because I can guarantee you, and you can see the Boston Globe feature from a couple years ago when an LNG tanker came into Boston. When we got shale gas in northeast Pennsylvania, it's the most prolific in the world. I definitely want the producer standards in my state versus Putin's regime. We saw what that led to.
Do you know what the difference between the two standards are?
It's an order of magnitude. I mean, it's so much so that even if you count for transportation across a tanker, shale gas in the U.S. shipped across the seas is more sustainable than pipe coming in from Russia.
Because they're not using electricity in the ships to bring them here? They have combustible motors in them?
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. And trucks to get them to point A to point B, since we can't build pipelines in the East Coast right now.
Right.
With that, sir, I'll yield back. You know, as we discuss plastics, you know, we got to talk about reality too. And I have a statement that I do want to read. But I do want to say that I think understanding the plastics that we have, the reliability that plastics bring, and the amount of technology and that we use plastics in would say that everybody on this committee thinks this is an important topic. I do want to point out that the reason why we're not having a lot of people here is because we have a lot of committees going on. And in fact, we have a markup happening in another committee that I currently sit on. And if it wasn't for so many different hearings going on, I think there'd be a lot more people here, which we appreciate all the witnesses that are here and the people that's in the audience, because I think we can all agree that this is something we got to pay attention to, but how do we do it without making us more reliant on other countries? How do we do this without limiting the ability for us to continue moving forward in society as a whole? Because everybody here relies on plastics. Everybody here has plastics either on your feet or on your clothes right now. Everybody here that has a cell phone has plastic. Everybody that was driven here by either the metro or by a vehicle relies on plastics. Every electric vehicle out there cannot be produced without plastics. Everyone that goes to bed and wakes up in the morning and takes a shower and dries off with a towel relies on plastics. Everybody that goes grocery shopping and buys your food relies on plastics. So it's not as though we can just limit it. It's just how can we do it better? And so we got to have the open conversation when we're talking about this, Chairman, is how can we do it better? And I'll point this out also in my opening statement. I don't believe we have a plastic problem. We have a recycling problem. And we have to learn how to make recycling valuable, where it allows us to be able to use that as a value base. And if we ignore that issue, guys, then you're ignoring the reality, because what is going to replace plastics? If someone's got a solution for that, then we'd probably already be there, but there isn't. I would like to first start by thanking our witnesses here today for attending this subcommittee hearing, including Mr. Kevin Sunday and Ms. Donna Jackson. Today's hearing highlights an original novel idea called environmental justice that has been transformed away from its original intent of helping poor and marginalized communities with specific needs into a social movement Democrats have taken over to push progressive policies forward under the disguise of social and racial equality. I think all of us in this community can agree to this. Everyone deserves clean air and water and access to reliable energy sources that will help create a cleaner, healthier, and safer future. What is missing from the discussion is that critical role the U.S. plays in manufacturing essential plastics, materials that are used in medical applications, helps deliver our clean water, can't get water delivered to you without plastic piping, and keeps our food fresh. Some witnesses today might make statements that plastics are harmful to your health, but they ignore the fact that plastics are already heavily regulated in the U.S. and have had to go through intense, rigorous standards guided by science to be used in applications, especially when it comes in contact with your food and your medicine. When it comes to facilitating siting for these companies, they're not just investing in the buildings or land, they're investing in the communities by providing jobs, health care plans, economic growth, and in the surrounding area. These benefits provide widespread. You guys are welcome to be here, but whoever keeps interrupting us, they either need to behave or they need to be removed, Chairman.
So I hold a lot of town halls in Oregon, and I do so in every county, and we have what we call the Oregon Way, which is listen thoughtfully, and if you passionately disagree, still be very respectful of the person speaking, and that includes members of the panel of the Senate, and that includes those who are testifying. I really appreciate you all being here, because these are really important issues that have been totally under-examined by Congress. But again, please do respectful. If you feel like you need to say something, go out in the hall and say it, and then come back in. Thanks.
I want to reiterate this. I enjoy the passion that drives this country, guys. But respect is also there. I raise our kids on 4 things: Honesty, hard work, respectful, and being responsible. And I promise you, I'll respect you, but that respect needs to be returned two ways. When it comes to facilitating siting for these companies, I'm going to restart this. They are not just investing in our buildings, they are investing in buildings or the land. They're investing in our communities by providing jobs, health care plans, economic growth in surrounding areas. These benefits provide a widespread opportunity for access and stability in rural states like Oklahoma. These are not short-term investments either, and it's in the manufacturing companies' interest to ensure good relationships with the communities around them. Not only because it's the right thing to do, but it's because the labor pool is likely from within the very community that they work in. Something I want to make clear, it is that we don't have a plastic problem, we have a recycling handling problem. Instead of halting infrastructure projects or manufacturing development that results in U.S. job loss and more reliance on countries like China to produce critical material needed for modern life, why would we not refocus in improving recycling? As I mentioned in our previous plastic subcommittee hearing, recycling means plastics that get reused, which is most productive through innovative technologies like advanced recycling. If we oppose a science-based solution that makes it possible to capture and reuse large volumes of used plastics that is currently going unrecycled, do we really care about plastic waste? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.